So, caveat, this was one of the worst screenings I've been to. Not only was the guy behind me snoring throughout the entire film, but the projector was actually slightly out of focus. I went out twice to let staff know, and it didn't get fixed, so that didn't really help make this a perfect environment to have watched this, but I really don't think if that had been fixed, it would have made this film any better for me. Now, obviously, the new Black Panther film was made after the tragic death of its lead actor, Chadwick Boseman, and this very easily could have felt a bit tasteless to force another film out, but when you look at the reaction the original Black Panther had, it's clear that this series is a lot more important culturally than other superhero movies. The question really becomes, could this film work and justify itself having lost the face of that? And wisely, this film deals very directly with his death by incorporating it into the film. It's a sudden shock to the characters in the movie, just as it was in real life. And the film does a really great job of paying immense respect and tribute to the death of its lead within this story. Letitia Wright gives a really beautiful, pained performance, no doubt influenced by the real life death of Chadwick Boseman, and you feel the real weight of that hang over this film. But the loss of the Black Panther isn't just a personal one, but leaves the state of Wakanda weakened defensively, which becomes a big problem when they are attacked by Namor and his army under the sea. This film is about how Shuri as a princess can deal with her grief, but also step up to defend Wakanda. There is a lot going on in this film, and it really shines when it leans into being a drama. It gives these actors a lot of strong character moments, especially with its villain. I really loved how much screen time they gave Namor in this. Marvel's villain problem has long been documented, and actually spending time with him helps that a lot. You get a much better grasp on who he is, his worldview, and we get a lot of conversations between him and Shuri that really help this feel a lot more like a political conflict than just another bad guy taking over the world. The real problem is the balance of this film. It has to manage being a drama about the loss of a brother, a friend, and the need for this to be another Marvel film. Because you have all of that going on, then there's a whole CIA plotline, and then another subplot following Shuri recruiting a young scientist. The young scientist gets a lot of screen time, and it added so little to the story, but she's getting a spin-off show, so it has to set that up. Like, this film is 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's supposed to be dealing with the grief of losing the Black Panther. Like, we really could have lost a lot of this stuff. And then as we approach the end, even with the huge emotional overhang this film has, it still suffers from the same problem as all these Marvel films, where the third act has to be a big kicky slap CGI fest. There's some well-directed action, but honestly, they all just feel so the same at this point that I just mentally tune out. The other weird thing about this is the Ironheart armor looks awful. It just felt really out of place, which is so odd because the rest of the costumes in this film are just fantastic. There is some really great visual world building here. Different tribes have different dress styles and costumes, and it just really adds a lot to the depth of Wakanda. It makes the world feel so much bigger, and it's films like this that really highlight how great and important it is to have talent from different cultures both in front of and behind the camera and get to work with a big budget, because you get a movie that looks and feels just so different and interesting compared to everything else, which is why this film is so frustrating, because there's a lot of really interesting elements in it, but it still feels less than the sum of its parts, and part of that is because it has to bend to the constrictions of being a Marvel film. Considering the main character died, it is very impressive that this film works as well as it does, and I do like how they incorporated that into the story. This really does feel like it honors Chadwick Boseman in a touching and respectful way, which it deserves a lot of credit for, but it also just ends up feeling like another Marvel film that is tonally inconsistent. I wish I liked it more, but I would give this one a light 6. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more stuff about movies, subscribe.